Well, I had the idea about exploring. I love urban exploring. And we had recently moved up permanently to San Francisco. So at first, I just couldn't get enough of the change in light. I would walk around the same blocks in the morning, see things that I don't see in the afternoon, because of different kinds of light. And then we were living in the Sunset around 14th Avenue. I started walking up 14th Avenue, and I see that I'm blocked off around the top, 14th Avenue, 15th Avenue, because there's a series of retaining walls and stairways. I had not seen this before, and hills. So I was just bouncing around from one stairway to another. I couldn't make sense of it, except that it was a hill, and people had to get up or down. And then I began looking more at a map. I'm not a map person. And so on weekends, my husband and I would pick out. We was better at the map. And we'd get a neighborhood, and we'd take the tape recorder and talk to people living in the neighborhoods. We get some of the history of the neighborhood, some of the problems the neighborhood had, and then we'd be invited into the homes. And it was wonderful, and I love neighborhoods. To me, that's the heart and soul of the city. So in the meantime, because I wanted to get an idea of a really quick history of the city, I joined the city guides that had just been organized a year before. That's with the library. We were supposed to be the goodwill ambassadors for people who were here visiting. And we would, after this series of 10 weeks of classes on Saturdays, we were to be a docent in a building that was architecturally interesting. But after I started walking those stairways and walking around the retaining walls, I thought I'd feel so hemmed in by a building. So I told the person who was in charge that I had discovered stairways and was exploring them, and I don't think I would like to be in a building being a docent. She was in a hurry to get out of the room. So as she was leaving, she said, well, then write a book. And I thought, since I signed up, you know, and I was supposed to be a docent and I didn't want to be one in the building, that I had to do that. I mean, I took her literally, because I had never written a book before. I had just written a lot in notebooks all my life, it seems, but never a book. So she was helpful in getting that started and helpful in getting the first publisher. And then what happened? Oh, the publishing, they went out of business. So it wasn't published then for a while. And then I decided to get busy and try to interest some publisher that would be involved with trails and hiking. And I got onto Wilderness Press and just sent them one chapter. And he said he'd like to see all the chapters. Well, at that time, I had just started using a computer, and it was such a drudge. And I thought, oh, if I send him the whole thing after all that work, he's probably going to say he can't use it. So I never bothered doing that. But then I got a call, and he said, what have you done with the book? And I said, oh, it's just lying here. I said, I'm interested in it. And he said, could you get the whole thing to me? And he's in Berkeley. Well, I stayed up all night and for the next day, and went over there with it in my hand and gave it to him, and he accepted it. So Tom Winnett is the owner and the originator of this kind of book. He was wonderful, wonderful to work with. Now they've been bought by another company, but that specializes in trails also. So it's in good hands, and Tom was wonderful to work for, honest, and you always knew where you were with him. You know, he would speak up. I remember bringing a chapter to him, and he said, this isn't ready for editing. Get cracking and get an editor. And he thought that I knew about publishing a book, and I didn't know a thing, but I really learned fast then. But he was wonderful to work with. So that started it. Well, I have been on hundreds of walks because I don't have a good sense of direction, which I am just beginning to admit to people. But I've had to redo walks. I've worked 10 times as hard as somebody who has a sense of direction. My feet carry me, but if I have to say turn right or turn left, I'm apt to give you the wrong instructions. So, but I've tried various walks in the neighborhood that I would like, and there has to be a certain rhythm to it, and there also has to be a feeling of that when you're walking up there, well, what's going to be there? The surprises around. It has to be visually interesting enough for you to stop and look. And because I don't believe in this power walking, I don't believe in the running. If you walk, all the senses have to be open. So that's the feeling I have. And if you are an urban walker, you talk to people and you get to know something about the neighborhood or about the person and his relationship to the neighborhood. It's magical. No, I keep exploring and finding new ways of looking at stairways. Or the stairway is really a feature in the environment that was probably done because of necessity. In the early days, they would just gouge out a rock, and you walk on that. And I do have one photo that I got from the history room of a stairway in Twin Peaks from 1888. I don't think I would have walked on that stairway. It didn't feel, maybe it wasn't as wobbly as I think it was from looking at it. But that was the earliest one. They had to do this. There was no way. I mean, they had trolleys, and you had to go down to get to the trolley. And everybody loves a view, so you put your house up there. And so it was of necessity. And then, so I love finding these areas in other places that I've traveled. And some of them are so beautiful, made with different kinds of rocks. Or here we have this one. Yes, it's beautiful. The 16th Avenue in Moraga. And I was able to work with somebody down in Los Angeles that lived in a neighborhood that was similar to one of our neighborhoods, with benches made of concrete, and then the stairway coming down. And so they wanted to do something special with the stairways. But when they were up here, I took them there and said, this is it. This is it.